Hey guys, Attorney Walter Hnot. So as you guys know, I'm right now on vacation in Maine. One of the most amazing places to go is right on the harbor, Bar Harbor kind of scene, Mount Desert Island. Right now, I'm not one of my favorite food spots, but I don't want everybody to know exactly where it is because then somebody might come visit, blah blah blah. But the point is, I got into an argument with a guy. It was a Harley type of guy about essentially the standards of society. And his argument was that the standards of society are actually lowered as a result of the disabled. And I obviously took the opportunity, because he was talking about immigrants and the disabled and everybody's taken from the system and yada yada. So I took the opportunity to go ahead and say, really, and kind of go through it. Now, I do this on purpose. A, an attorney, I like to go back and forth with people. It's just part of how it is. B, I learn something every time I get into one of these conversations with these individuals about where society is at that time. And sometimes they really surprise me with some of their arguments because they're right. Sometimes they're right. But I want to go through some of this stuff with you guys because, as you know, my role is switching more and more away from just traditional law firm work and more into the political arena when it comes to creating documents to submit, etc. And I keep getting more and more invitations to go over to Washington, D.C. to kind of check it out. But one of the things I want to go through is the baseline. When it comes to the disabled, when it comes to the standard of living, the standard of Americans, do the disabled hurt the standard, right? Societal standard as to where people are. My argument is actually no. And let me go through some of these arguments as to why. First off, they're purely consumers. The disabled buy. Whatever money they get, they use it to buy. They are literally mass pumping whatever funds they get directly into society's commercial product use environment. That's it, the whole thing. The next thing is half the disability recipients have paid for their benefits, right? Because half of them are on SSDI. That's 7-8 million people. Half of them are on SSI, Supplemental Security Income. Now, of course, the SSI people have not paid for their disability benefits, but the SSDI people have. So you got a 50% mark there where they've already paid their way onto their benefits. Now, sure, somebody might have not paid as much in as a retired person, but the disabled also live significantly shorter periods of life. So, somewhere in there's a balance. Nobody has the math on that, but I'm going to start looking into it just to kind of help bolster that argument. Now, another thing. The disabled don't tend to go ahead and have as many kids as other individuals. This was his main argument against me, that, they're having these kids and it's generational and the disabled kids are having disabled kids and they just keep going on the SSI system. That's actually a bit of a rarity, and here's why. A lot of people in modern day America see online, on YouTube, on all these different TikTok things, luxury items that they want to be able to buy into. And as a result of that, they want to have money. And as a result of that, they want to either go get a job, or they want to go live in a different apartment, or they want to go live away from people that they don't like, right? Because there's always neighborhoods out there where people don't want to live. No matter what you do, there's always neighborhoods out there where people don't want to live. And as a result of that, what it kind of comes down to is more and more generations are trying to find a better way to utilize, their knowledge, their skill base, learn things online, etc. This includes the children of disabled, whether it's, all that YouTube stuff about passive income versus active income versus blah, 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 whatever it is, they're trying to move away from that. So the generational, this person's disabled and that person's disabled, they exist. I've represented many, many, many generations all the way through the familial lineal line for those who are seeking disability benefits. But I will tell you this, most of those generations are on mental impairments, not physical impairments, which is what people usually think about. So just keep that in mind. It's something that you can gain from my experience of interacting with generation after generation after generation of disabled people, okay? Now, his argument was, they keep having kids, and they're having so many kids because they don't have anything else to do, and so on and so forth, and yada yada. My counter argument to that is that actually the disabled have significantly fewer children. The reason the disabled have significantly fewer children is that A, when they're on benefits, they don't have enough money to go ahead and do proper dating, right? Think about it. Someone on SSI, how are you going to date somebody at $841 a month and then go ahead and have a regular relationship with that? So dating is very difficult for those people on SSI along with SSDI benefits. Let's bump it up. Let's say somebody's getting $1,200 to $1,500 per month. how is that realistically an approach that somebody could have a normal dating life as a result of that? So finding people, dating people, having long-term relationships, having kids, much more difficult. So the disabled are not actually having significant amount of kids like people think they are. So my counter argument to that is, frankly, if they're able to find somebody, get along with them, and have a real relationship with them, I applaud it. I applaud it. To me, that makes more sense. All right, the next thing I want to go through is this. The disabled, when it comes to like people being like, oh, they're all drug addicts, or they're all this, or they're all that, they're not. And here's why. You tell me, okay, surely there are a lot of disabled people that are utilizing hard drugs. Surely there are a lot of disabled people that are utilizing lesser drugs, marijuana, things like that. But can you tell me, of those individuals, how many of them are in gangs? How many? What percentage do you think? It's going to be a small, very light percentage, right? What about quasi pseudo military groups, right? These military groups that you see sometimes popping up on TV. How many do you think are in that? Holding the firearms, holding the body shields, all that. How many of these disabled individuals do you think are part of those? What percentage of them? It's a very tiny percentage. Okay, what about for example, code breakers, hackers, all those types? How many disabled individuals do you think fall into the code breaking and hacking group, right? Those who professionally go and cause havoc by essentially hacking into some hospital software and then turning machines on, turning machines off at their will. How many? Very low percentages. So as a result of that, my response is, I don't see them as such an aggressive harm as so many people do. I don't see them as a people that are basically going and causing mass, aggressive, severe harm to society. I see it actually as the opposite. I see the disabled as placeholders for the most part. Stick with me through this one. Let's say they have an extreme impairment. They're probably going to die with it, or from it within the next 6 to 12 months. They are literally living the last days of their lives. They have an extreme impairment. Now, some of you guys will say, well, that was the genetics, and it's not. Could have been a car accident that was really bad. Could have been a heavy equipment accident that was really bad. Could have been any one of those things that put them in that situation. Now, they are living life as a placeholder until they get to the end game. And they know a timeline. There's a clock. They flipped it over and the sand is following how much time they have left. Those people are not bringing society down. They're using medical treatment. They're using, all kinds of things in society to go ahead and consume resources to be able to survive a little bit longer. And guess what? That's why we have insurance. That's why we have these programs that they're paying into with their SSDI benefits, or if they have lesser benefits, Medicaid, SSI, then that's what they utilize. Now, the reason I say placeholders especially is not because of the extremely impaired. It's not. It's not. The reason I say essentially those individuals, the disabled, are placeholders in life, and this is something that a lot of people don't know about them, is that when they have a severe impairment, so extremes here, severes here, moderate, mild, right? Mild, moderate, severe, extreme. So we're at severe. So when they have a severe impairment, but they're living their life in some way that essentially represents a placeholder. The disabled live as somebody who has to rent an apartment. Maybe they're watching somebody's kids. Maybe they're watching somebody's dog. Maybe they're watching somebody's pets. Maybe they're watching the property. But they're in a placeholder setting. They're not out there doing crazy things, inventing new things, and doing this and doing that. What they're in is a placeholder setting. They're holding the place of something and keeping it going. They're allowing things to be structurally happening around them while they watch or they assist in a minor way. Now, my other argument essentially to whether or not the disabled are increasing the standard of living of society or lowering the standard of living of society, or increasing the standard of humans in America or decreasing the standard of humans in America, is this. We talked about how they're consumers, right? We talked about essentially how they buy things. Think about how many industries directly interact with the disabled. For example, number one, the housing market. That's a lot of people. right? So you got your SSIs, 7-8 million people. Got your SSDIs, 7-8 million people, right? Somewhere in there there's a crossover, but let's just say 15 million people are in the housing market renting houses, renting apartments, renting something for their living. That's a lot of consuming. Okay. What about medication consumption? What about medical treatment consumption? What about packaging of items that then get shipped specifically to their house because they can't make it to Walmart? Right? What about that industry? What about the transportation industry? The guy that has to drive those items specifically to the disabled person. Frankly, the disabled, in some very strong ways, lift up society's own consumption of products. They are a heavy supporter, if not one of the highest supporters of capitalism. Because look at them. They're basically one of the ones that's buying and selling. They're not saving up and then the money disappears from society. No, they're spending every dollar that they have. Now, with that said, as I prepare this letter to Congress, I wanted to go ahead and let you guys know a few things. I want you to not be afraid. To put into the comment section whether or not you think the disabled are helping society, raising the standard of living, or lowering society, lowering the standard of living. I want you to be honest with me because I want all sides of this particular issue, all sides of the coin, so that when I write my document to Congress to go ahead and support future additional stimulus funds to the disabled, I want to know all the little problems so that I can create a document that is fully truthful. We often see documents that ignore the realities of what something is. This document is not going to do that. It's going to boldly face down the problems, and it's going to boldly bolster those that will help the disabled. It's the only way to do it. You do it any other way, the document just gets attacked over and over for not pointing things out. So, guys, I'll catch you a little bit later. I'm in Maine, and one of my favorite harbors. I'm going to keep making a few videos while I'm up here. You have an absolutely wonderful day, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.